Another video coming at you from the banks of the Neversink River in the Catskill region in New York. And this video is all about this book, Ruth Stout's No Work Garden. If you've been following the videos that I've been doing, you'll know that I'm mulching my videos with hay, not straw. And I'm doing that for a few reasons. To try and conserve moisture, to try and build soil. And a lot of people, when I put that out there, said, oh, you should use wood chips. You should add more straw. You should just do something different. There's a lot of opinions when it comes to mulching. And this woman here, the late Ruth Stout, was really the grandmother of the mulching method. She's a huge advocate of it. She's written a few books on it, hundreds of articles on the subject. So I decided to order this book off of Amazon, link below, and read it on the way out here because I had to fly all the way from California to New York. I had a long plane ride and I decided I'm gonna read this book because I never read it before. I'm gonna see what Ruth Stout says. And in a nutshell, I can sum this whole thick book up for you in one easy to digest sentence. Put mulch on it. That's it. Put mulch on it. What mulch? It doesn't matter. She uses hay, she uses straw, she uses things like that, grass clippings, but her whole method is put mulch on it for a no-work garden. It seems overly simplistic, and this is a long book to basically convey those 4 or 5 words of put mulch on it. There's really not much else in here other than that. So if you're new to this or you want to convince somebody to use mulch, I check out this book. If you're more advanced, I don't know that you need to read this book to really get a lot of benefit out of it. And one thing I get out of this book is something that's interesting. Having interviewed hundreds of people in the permaculture space, I've interviewed people who are experts, people who've been around for a long time. The Paul Wheatons, the Larry Santoyos. And there's this thing that seems to happen to experts after a while. It's a theory Paul Wheaton talks about. They get kind of curmudgeon-y because they get sick of answering the same question so many times that eventually they're just like, just do it. Well, I kind of get the impression that that's what happened to Ruth Stout. At the beginning, she's like, look at my garden, it's so great, I put all this mulch on it. I don't have to work, I don't have to weed. And people are like, that doesn't work, that's stupid. And eventually, after years and years of doing this, she started writing her first book back in the 50s. This book was written in 1971. After 20 years of people saying your method sucks or your method doesn't work, eventually you get kind of curmudgeon-y, and the message eventually becomes, just put mulch on it. Now, one important point that Ruth makes in this book, and I want to steal that point and apply it to the content that I talk about on my channel, is, look, I do this, it works for me. If you don't think it's going to work in your situation, try something else. But this is what I do. These are the results. I'll tell you what works and what doesn't. That's what she said, and that's really what I'm saying on a lot of these videos. Don't take anything you see in these videos as gospel. I'm trying stuff and see what works. But one thing you tend to find when you get into this space is a lot of dogmatism. People are like, you must put wood chips on it. No, that's not thick enough. You have to go thicker. There's a lot of right and wrong, and it's funny, Ruth actually comments about it in the book. The comment she makes is this: my quarrel with people who write about gardening is that they often state as a fact something which they do not know to be a fact. And that's something you see a lot in the comments below, and not just on my videos, but a lot of videos. I think we're all guilty of it. We all hear something, we all say something, and we like to pound the table and say this is a fact, and get behind the facts that really build up our cause and really poo-poo the ones that go against our cause. That's where this dogmatism comes in. So I want to caution people against that. And I want to try and say, again, everything I do in this video, some of it might be stupid, some of it might not be wrong, but I'm trying it to see what works for my situation. One other point is beware of the praisers of doom. Beware of the people who are dealing the silver bullets, as Ruth says in this book. What her neighbor says something along the lines of, plastic mulch will warm the soil more quickly in the spring than hay. And Ruth simply goes back and says, why do you think this? And here's how our neighbor responded. She hesitated for a moment and then said, someone must have told me that I did. That's it. She didn't actually know. She just heard it once and then assumed it to be true. At a workshop that I was at today at Neversink, you hear these things come up. Why do you think that? Well, that's what I heard. That's what somebody said. A lot of people cling to these little things that they hear or think that they hear or read about, and they never really test them out in reality. They never know how they work, they never know if they're true or not, and they can be very stretched truths. It's like that game of telephone that you play as a kid. it goes in the phone one end, and by the time 5 or 6 people relay the same story, the story's totally different the time it comes full circle back around the other end. Be very careful with what you believe, be very careful what you bite onto, and be very careful about accusing people of doing something that you might not know enough about because you just heard it once. So I think it's an important lesson. Be careful of just accepting things as blind truth. That's why I wanted to start this channel. That's why I want to do a whole bunch of experiments that you've seen me do and ones that you'll see to come on this video, because I'm really trying to figure out what works for me in the way I do it versus what did I hear and I'm just going to go do that. So take what I do with a grain of salt, apply it to your context and your situation, and hopefully some of the stuff will work for you. If you're looking for some light summer reading, and I do mean light, this is one book to check out. Again, link below. But again, I'll sum it up all in one step. Put mulch on it. That's it. That's the Ruth Stout No Work Garden Method way. They'll save you a book, but again, if you do want to read it, then go for it. At the end of the day, I give Ruth a lot of credit. She's a great pioneer, somebody who stuck her neck out there for many, many years, writing about something that she believed in. Well, a lot of people said, you're stupid, and that doesn't work. But she stuck her heels in, dug them into the ground, and kept going for it. And that's a message and a course of life that I think that we could all follow. So find what works for you, find what you believe in, and go after it regardless of what other people say. Thanks for watching. Until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.